I call to order and welcome you to the Middletown, Ohio Regular City Council meeting for Tuesday, November 5th, 2024. Please join me for a moment of meditation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag. You will hear 3 taps of the gavel when it is time to stand. Please join me in a moment of meditation now. Clerk of Council, Mrs. Amy Skank, please call the attendance roll.
Mr. Lawley.
Present.
Mrs. Carter.
Present.
Mr. West.
Here.
Mr. Horn.
Here.
Mayor Slamka.
Here. The first item this evening is the consent agenda. While the consent agenda is generally for consensus items, do any council members wish to remove anything from the consent agenda this evening and move it to the motion agenda? Seeing none, we will continue. Mrs. Skank, please present the consent agenda.
For your consideration this evening, we have the approval of the City Council minutes from October the 15th, 2024. To receive and file the Park Board minutes from August the 12th and September 9th, 2024. To confirm the conditional appointments of Shalon Arnett and Layla Etter to the position of Senior Account Clerk in the Department of Finance, Division of Tax. To confirm the promotional appointments of Anthony Gibson and Trey Porter to the position of Police Lieutenant in the Department of Public Safety, Division of Police. To confirm the promotional appointments of Adam Cox, Lindsay Schwarber, Jordan Wagers, and Jason Wargo to the position of Police Sergeant in the Department of Public Safety, Division of Police. To confirm the reinstatement of Hope Colclasure to the position of Dispatcher in the Department of Public Safety, Division of Police. To confirm the reinstatement of Mark Horn to the position of Water Treatment Operator in the Department of Public Works and Utilities, Division of Water Treatment. To receive and file an oath of office for Paul Lawley, and to approve the final plat for Renaissance Section 11.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded. To accept the consent agenda, we will proceed to vote. Mrs. Skank, please call the roll.
Mrs. Carter.
Yes.
Mr. West.
Yes.
Mr. Horn.
Staying.
Mayor Slamka.
Yes.
Mr. Lawley.
Yes.
The yeses have it, and the motion passes. The consent agenda is approved. The next item on our agenda this evening is our pinning ceremony. I would like to invite our Police Chief Nelson to the podium.
You're going to stand up here with me. Bring my Deputy Chief Morgan down here with me. Members of the council, Madam Mayor. As we look to continue to rebuild our ranks within the police department, we recently had a promotional process where we promoted 2 lieutenants and 4 sergeants. For those of you who aren't familiar with the promotional process, this is a very strenuous process. It takes about 3 or 4 months, which consists of a written examination. We had to score at least a 70% on a psychological/assessment examination and an interview with the command staff. Now, just to show you what kind of candidates we had to choose from this promotional process, there were scores that exceeded over 100%. Now, you ask why? Some of those scores were so high that they scored up to the 90s, and their seniority points took them over 100. This is a great group of individuals that we're going to promote here tonight, and I wanted to reassure the members of council and the city, or the citizens of the city of Middletown, that these individuals that we're putting in leadership roles are going to be great. So the first 2 I want to bring down is Sergeant Trey Porter and Sergeant Anthony Gibson. These 2 individuals are being promoted to the position of lieutenant, or the rank of lieutenant. So Trey Porter is, how many years you been on here? I lost my paperwork. He's a 12-year veteran of the Middletown Police Department. Trey Porter is an assistant SWAT commander on our SWAT team. He scored #1 on the lieutenant's exam, and he was a detective prior to that, and an exceptional police officer. Tony Gibson is a 13-year veteran of the Middletown Division of Police. He is our K-9 handler or K-9 supervisor or mounted patrol supervisor. He is, in his current role, he is the jail commander where he served at for the last 2 years. Trey has been a supervisor for approximately 3 years. Sergeant Gibson has also been a supervisor for approximately 3 years. These are two exceptional individuals that were promoted to the rank of lieutenant, and they scored really high, and I'm excited to promote them to this position. Who you have a pen on? So the next group of individuals I want to call down is Jordan Wagers, Officer Lindsay Swarber, Officer Adam Cox, and Officer Jason Wargo. And due to the recent promotions, we have 4 openings for sergeant positions. Once again, it's the same process that the lieutenants go through. It's a really, really hard process to go through, but again, they scored well within, these are really high scores, and they made the decision to choose from really, really difficult, but Jordan Wagers scored first, Officer Swarber scored second, Officer Cox scored third, and Detective Wargo scored fourth. All these scores were really, really close, and it was a really tough decision. But first up on the list is Jordan Wagers, who is a 9-year veteran of the Middletown Police Department. Jordan Wagers is a field training officer and a subject control instructor. He is a team leader on the SWAT team. Jordan Wagers also worked for several years within our narcotics division, and Jordan Wagers gave me headaches when I first became a sergeant because he was really aggressive, but he's a really good officer, and I'm excited to promote him to the position of sergeant. Jordan Wagers. So next up is Lindsay Swarber. She's a 7-year veteran of the Middletown Division of Police. Lindsay is a field training officer. Lindsay is one of our most successful K-9 handlers in the history of the Middletown Police Department. For those of you who don't know, she plays top dog this year at region for Middletown Police Department and went on to compete in nationals for K-9 handler and finished 20th out of 67 dogs in Louisiana this summer. So she is a really, really good K-9 handler. Lindsay's got a little bit of family history going on here, and I'm excited that she's continued to carry it on. Lindsay Schwarber. Adam Cox, 8-year veteran of the Middletown Division of Police. Adam is also a field training officer. As you can see, the trend here is that our field training officers go on to become supervisors. That's kind of the way we have it. Adam Cox is the team leader on the SWAT team. Adam Cox is a instructor for many of our training topics for the department, including close quarter tactics and red dot sight instructor for the police department. Adam Cox, again, is a really, really good officer. He was a young officer on the street when I first got promoted to the position of sergeant. Really, really aggressive, and I'm glad to see he got promoted. Adam Cox. last is Detective Wargo. Detective Wargo is a 23-year veteran of the Middletown Police Department. In his last or current assignment, he did 7 years as the lead evidence technician for our police department. Detective Wargo has processed over 30 homicide scenes for the department, one of our best evidence technicians we've ever had here. Detective Wargo is a taser instructor, firearm instructor. He teaches evidence to our local schools and different community groups that we have here in the city. He's a really good detective, and he kept all our evidence just the way it's supposed to be, that meticulous, and I hope he's the same way with his leadership on the street. Detective Wargo.
Congratulations and thank you to all who served. That was a wonderful ceremony. The next order of business is our citizen comments. Do we have any this evening? No? All right. So we will continue and we will wait for everyone to make their exit. Thank you all for coming this evening.
On the,
I was going to ask you. I was like, any relation?
yeah, that's what yeah, that's,
I was going to ask you when we met.
I caught that.
Good catch.
Yeah.
It's got to be. They were apologizing that it's taking so long to exit, but you know what? That's a great sign. We had a lot of people here. All right. The next item on the agenda is our council comments. We will begin to my left with Councilmember Lally, followed by Councilmember Carter, then to my right with Councilmember West, followed by Councilmember Horn, and I will speak last. Mr. Lally?
Thank you, Mayor Slamka. The first thing on my list tonight is I want to congratulate all the new appointments to city positions. Sometimes it's easy to appoint or congratulate the promotions, but the new appointments, welcome aboard. To those who are being reinstated, that's a good thing to see. I think the grass isn't always greener on the other side. It kind of tells me, at least that's what I always told the firemen when they came back. Of course, one of them cost me a steak dinner to the fire chief sitting out there, but it's a good thing to see the reinstatements and the new appointments. I hope you guys have a long and aspiring career with the city of Middletown. And then I want to say congratulations to Lieutenant Gibson and Lieutenant Porter and Sergeants Cox, Schwarber, Wagers, and Wargo on their promotional appointments this evening. Probably one of the coolest things I think we do as city council is recognize our employees, and those badge pinnings are something that I've always cherished through my career with the city. Tonight was especially heartening because it kind of culminates about a year and a half of us kind of trying to put together with the police command staff to solidify the command structure within the Division of Police, and tonight kind of culminates that with the final appointments there. So that's a good thing. The last thing I have is I want to give my shout out to what I consider as individuals in the city that are making Middletown a better place recognition. And I want to say this to the people who have done the works on some of the city parks. I don't know if anyone has had a chance to go out and see the work they've done on Sherman Park and Goldman Park, but it is absolutely awesome. The parks are looking great, looking beautiful, and Oakland Park has been started. I believe they got a lot of the good concrete work started, and I think that's a step in the direction. So a big shout out to city staff for all the hard work city staff did on that, to the park board who did a lot of work in designing and deciding what to go with, and to the citizens of Middletown, and to my colleagues in the past city council who made the approval of the funds to start beautifying our park. So thank you to those groups for making Middletown a better place. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Lally. Mrs. Carter.
I too would like to congratulate the new officers in their positions and the new employees. I don't have a lot to say tonight, so back to you, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Mr. West.
Thank you, Mayor. Not much to add to that, but I'd like to echo congratulations on the appointments and promotions that we see within this building. There's a lot of talent, especially when we look at public safety. Other than that, I hope everybody voted today. Today is kind of an exciting day because everybody has an opportunity to count as one vote. I know when I went down to Highview this morning about 8:15, 8:30, it was probably the largest turnout I've ever seen. So it was pretty special to see. Thank you, Mayor.
Absolutely, thank you. And then Mr. Horn.
I find it refreshing when you see a lot of younger folks. I asked that question last week when we were talking about our last meeting about our attrition level of our police officers. And Chief Nelson informed me, which was nice to say, we don't have a lot of retirees coming up. It's good to have that youth of law enforcement and ones that are growing to become bosses and being able to help others learn this amazing profession that is at times thankless and times very dangerous. These folks, they go out every day to protect and serve us. They go in where we would not go at times. And it's very encouraging. And also the high scores and the fact that we have the best of the best here in Middletown, Ohio, and we're going to continue to grow that. And we're going to show that it is safe to live here and that it is a place that you want to raise your family. One comment, I had a nice conversation with one of our developers, and always nice when we get positive comments. And he made the statement that this city council has been more aggressive with trying to make this city better, and all parts of the city. And he really appreciated it, wanted me to convey that appreciation. That one list that I always give, those 5 items that makes a strong city, I always think of the strong sense of community. The more that we build and we take things that used to be useful, like an old school, and we turn it into a development where people can now live here, it makes it where, yes, that was a great memory, but now let's make new memories. Let's bring folks into our city with the factor that you are going to be safe here. There's going to be things to do here, and we're going to continue to develop all parts of our city. So I just want to give that compliment that he gave to us, the work that we've been doing up to this date and will continue to do. And then also, I was asked to announce Bowl Week is coming up next week. November 17th through 23rd. This is locally owned restaurants, and these are kind of nice. These weeks that we have: dessert week, salad week, burger week. But it also helps the SBEs in our city, which we need to do. Because a lot of times that's what they rely on, is the local folks coming in and going to their restaurants than others. I mean, it's great when we have an event where people come from outside of our city, but a lot of times our small business entities really rely on us. So that is November 17th to the 23rd, and Bowl Week includes chilies, soups, and stews. You're welcome, Jerry. I'm done.
Thank you. Okay, I have several updates this evening, and first I would like to thank and commend the entire city staff, and particularly our IT department, for all the good work that they have done in redesigning our city website. It looks beautiful. Simply Queen, a live tribute to the band Queen, is performing this coming Friday, November 8th at Middletown's beautiful and historic Sorg Opera House. For more information, please visit sorgoperahouse.org. The third annual CBI Turkey Trot 5K is this Saturday, November 9th. Stay after the race for hot food, cash prizes, live music, and fun activities. Proceeds benefit the Cradle to Career programs and services of CBI, our Community Building Institute in Middletown. And they already have over 200 participants, well over 200 participants registered. For links and more information on how to sign up, please visit downtownmiddletown.org. We are celebrating Veterans Day this coming Monday, November 11th. This is a wonderful time to think about what service truly means and to have a conversation with a former or current service member about life in the military. It is also an excellent time to consider donating. As you can read online, countless veterans organizations could use extra cash for programs that help wounded warriors, assist current service members who are having financial difficulties, and give job counseling to people leaving the military. You could research an organization on your own or ask a veteran for their input. We would like to cordially invite all Middletonians and city stakeholders to the 2024 State of the City Address next Tuesday, November 12th, to be held at the Event Center of Middletown, located at 3907 Central Avenue. In addition to the address itself, there will be a short State of the Schools address by School Board President Chris Urso, a short State of the City Health address by Health Commissioner Jackie Phillips Carter, and the presentation of the Robert Sonny Hill Jr. Humanitarian Award. Light refreshments will be provided. For more information, please visit the city's Facebook page. This will be an excellent night to show civic pride, celebrate Middletown, learn more about the city, and to see the updated Event Center of Middletown. We hope you will attend. Our Middletown holiday festivities, collectively called Very Merry Middletown, begin this month. Holiday Hoopla's ice rink is opening early this year. Located at 39 North Broad Street in our downtown, skating begins Friday, November 15th. Holiday Hoopla is offering hot chocolate every day, $12 unlimited skating for the entire day, and children 5 years of age and younger skate free. There are also group discounts available, so bring your youth groups, sports teams, work parties, and family get-togethers of 12 people or more for just $8 per person for all-day skating. As always, there are also igloo rentals available to stay cozy and warm. To find out more, please visit holidayhoopla.org, and hoopla is spelled W-H-O-P-L-A. Next Saturday, November 16th, are a slew of classes at our Middletown Arts Center offered just in time for holiday gift giving. Learn how to make an enameled magnet, a holiday moss wreath, a holiday basket, or a magical holiday fairy garden. Come out and meet people, have a good time, and create. For more information, please visit middletownartscenter.com. Also on Saturday, November 16th at noon, is the next Blueprint Community Garden Saturday Youth Workshop. Located at the corner of Cleveland Street and Grand Avenue, this is a free event where participants will learn how to prepare soil for fall crops. Please save the date for Rise Up Performing Arts presentation of Disney's Frozen Jr. at the Sorg Opera House in downtown Middletown from November 21st to the 24th. Tickets are on sale now. For more information, please visit sorgoperahouse.org. The end of the year is approaching, and that means that several of our city boards and commissions members' terms are coming to an end. If you have an interest in serving on a board or commission for the City of Middletown and giving back to the city in this way, please do submit your application soon, as Council will be discussing this in December. To learn more, please visit the city's website at www.cityofmiddletown.org. Lastly, and as always, there are many ways to get involved with your community and give back. Join a board or committee, run for office, apply for a job with the city, volunteer at the hospital, pick up trash in your neighborhood or park. Plant a garden in your yard. Smile at a neighbor. Find joy and satisfaction for a job well done in whatever work you do, or just have a positive and giving attitude. Find something that you can do regularly and give back. We are all connected and we are all in this together. The care of our city is an adventure in which we all get to share. That is all for me tonight, and this concludes council comments. The next agenda item is city manager reports. Acting City Manager Mr. Nathan Cahall, you have the floor.
I actually have nothing for this evening, Mayor.
All right. The next item on the agenda is the motion agenda. We have 3 items this evening. Mrs. Skank, please present item A on the motion agenda.
To authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Building Crafts for the construction of a water treatment plant filter backwash tank in the amount not to exceed $5,182,000.
Thank you. Mr. Cahall?
Members of council, in front of you tonight is a recommendation for a bid award and contract execution from our Public Works Department for the planned upgrade to our water treatment facility to add a filter backwash tank. As staff report highlights, this new part of our treatment system, once installed, will start to reduce our lime sludge discharge into the lagoon, which has been an ongoing process and problem for some time. As you may recall, this is actually the second time we've bid out this project. The first time the project came in incredibly over budget. This new figure is well within workable parameters, and staff recommends your concurrence with the recommendation.
Wonderful, thank you. Do I have a motion to approve item A to authorize a contract with Building Crafts?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second?
Having been properly moved and seconded, is there any discussion? All right, hearing none, we will proceed to vote. Mrs. Skank, please call the roll.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Horn?
Yes.
Mayor Slamka?
Yes.
Mrs. Carter?
Yes.
Mr. Lawley?
Yes.
The yeses have it, and the motion passes. Mrs. Skank, please present item B on the motion agenda.
To recommend the purchase of a pipe inspection camera system in the amount of $153,622.39 from Jack Doheny Companies of Cincinnati, Ohio, for the Stormwater Maintenance Department.
Thank you very much. Mr. Cahall, the staff report, please.
Yes, in front of you this evening is a recommendation to purchase a new camera system for our storm sewer maintenance division in our Public Works Department. We've gotten more than our money's worth out of the current system. It's starting to create some issues for us. And this system is actually very important for our preventative maintenance program. It allows us to do what you would think. We're going to send a probe down storm sewer systems, be able to videotape and see where there's either failures, cracks, leaks, or other maintenance issues that need to be addressed, so that we can be more surgical in our efforts to dig up streets or dig up people's yards instead of just having to dig everything up at one time. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Do I have a motion to approve item B to recommend the purchase of a pipe inspection camera system?
Motion?
Is there a second?
Second?
Having been properly moved and seconded, is there any discussion? Hearing none, we will proceed to vote. Mrs. Skank, please call the roll.
Mr. Horn?
Yes.
Mayor Slamka?
Yes.
Mr. Lawley?
Yes.
Mrs. Carter?
Yes.
Mr. West?
Yes.
The yeses have it, and the motion passes. Mrs. Skank, please present item C on the motion agenda.
To refer to the Planning Commission a text amendment of the Middletown Development Code, Section 1226.01, the review and decision-making authorities, specifically including sections 1226.01A, 1 and 1226.01B2.
Thank you. There is no staff report for this, so do I have a motion to approve item C to refer to Planning Commission a text amendment of the Middletown Development Code?
Motion?
Is there a second?
Second.
Having been properly moved and seconded, is there any discussion? I did want to talk about this for just a little bit. Let me see here. I was wondering, I would like to get some more information on this as far as pros and cons, and maybe information from people who have served on Planning Commission, school boards, present, past, that kind of thing. Wondering if we could have, maybe table this vote until the next meeting and have a special meeting beforehand just to have that conversation and have some people invited to the meeting to talk about it.
I'm not interested in that.
No?
I think it's pretty clear cut.
No? Okay. The reason I wanted to talk is just because it seems like a good idea to have the school board member on the planning commission, just because anything with land use does impact the schools. So I just wanted to have that conversation, but no. All right. So is there any more discussion? All right. Hearing none, we will proceed to vote. Mrs. Skank, please call the roll.
Mayor Slanka,
No.
Mr. Lawley,
Yes.
Mrs. Carter,
No?
Mr. West,
Yes.
Mr. Horn,
Yes.
The yeses have it, and the motion passes. This concludes the motion agenda. And the next item on our agenda is the legislation. We have 8 items of legislation this evening, and our Assistant Law Director, Mr. Conover, please, the legislation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First tonight is ordinance number O-2024-78, an ordinance establishing a procedure for and authorizing a contract with Polydyne Incorporated for the purchase of polymer for the use at the water reclamation facility for the year 2025. This is a second reading.
Thank you. Mr. Cahal, do you have anything to add?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the ordinance?
Motion?
Is there a second?
Second?
It has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we will proceed to vote. Mrs. Skank, please call the roll.
who seconded? I'm sorry.
Mr. Lawley, I believe.
Sorry, I couldn't tell whose voice that was. I apologize. Mr. Lawley,
Yes.
Mrs. Carter,
Yes.
Mr. West,
Yes.
Mr. Horn,
Yes.
Mayor Slanka.
Yes. The yeses have it, and the item passes. Mr. Conover, the next item, please.
Yeah, item 2 tonight is ordinance number O-2024-79, an ordinance directing a portion of the city's coronavirus local fiscal recovery fund payment to the provision of government services to the extent of the city's reduction in revenue resulting from the COVID-19 public health emergency by authorizing the Butler Tech Aviation Hangar project with funds to be encumbered March 3, 2021 and ending December 31, 2024, and declaring an emergency. No action is requested until November 19th, 2024.
Thank you, Mr. Conover. Mr. Cahal, the staff report, please.
Yes, members of council, before you is an ordinance that would authorize the execution of a subrecipient agreement with Butler Tech for already budgeted and appropriated ARPA funds. This represents the last tranche of ARPA funds that have either not been encumbered, spent, or otherwise revenue replaced by the end of the year per your direction. This is a continuation, so to speak, of actions between the city and Butler Tech as the award of these funds was contemplated and was a term and condition in the land lease that the city executed probably some 18 months ago. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. As this is a first reading but a second reading emergency, there is no action on this item today. However, is there any discussion? All right, hearing none, we will move on. Mr. Conover, the next item, please.
Next is ordinance number O-2024-80, an ordinance amending Chapter 232 in the Fire Division of the Codified Ordinances. This is a first reading.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Cahal, the staff report, please.
Wow, that's throwing me off. I don't even know what that is. Thank you, Your Honor, members of council. Before you is a proposed update to Chapter 232 of our municipal code. This pertains specifically to our Division of Fire and EMS services. We have been looking at, in consultation with command staff of the fire department and our EMS billing agency and everyone else, looking at a update to our rates and fees that are charged to whether that's Medicaid, Medicare, or private insurers for transport of patients. These rates are looked at periodically, but you also, so this is one part of the proposed amendment to this chapter. The other part of this is really to clean up this section of the code. There are existing extraneous provisions that conflict with other items throughout our municipal code or the like. And also, we also are proposing a provision that would allow not only to charge for transport the patient or the patient's insurer, but also if we are looking at transport from a care facility We are running into issues with some of our care providers, some of our care facilities, with a very high rate of EMS runs and calls, and it's causing some issues that we've been trying to address, and we think this is part of the solution. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Again, this is a first reading. There is no action on this item today. However, is there any discussion?
I was just curious for ALS 2, it only went up 38, and the other types of transports went up a bit more than that. Is there any reason why ALS 2 is more or less flat on a proposal?
I mean, I can defer
Proposed
to the
hike.
fire chief if you got some input. I mean, typically we're really mirroring what the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare are establishing per region, but I'm sure Tom probably has much more insight on that than I do.
Thank you, Chief Snively.
Sorry, Chief.
Wake up, Tom.
So everything that Nathan said, we polled over 20.
Sorry, could you speak into the microphone, please, just to make sure we can capture that?
When we were looking at this issue, we polled over 20 departments locally to see what other people are charging, and that's just kind of where we landed.
Perfect. Thank you.
But that's pretty close to what Medicare allows us to charge.
Exactly.
So we couldn't
There's some that
charge
charge
anymore.
quite a bit more than that, some that charge less, but that's where we're comfortable.
Yeah, our history of it, we've been pretty close on ALS runs 1 and ALS runs 2, what we were allowed to charge by Medicare.
I had a question similar to that, unless you wanted to continue. When I looked at it, I just noticed that it seemed like I am very interested in what other communities are doing, and I want to also make sure that these prices work for Middletonians. So I was just curious, because it does seem like a pretty substantial increase in the other two departments, wondering if we might speak to the increase and why it was so much in those two.
Well, a couple reasons. Those are based on like I said, the communities that are around us. Some of them, these rates we haven't touched for some time. So that's why, and we don't have really any control over what Medicare pays. So it's more driven by them, I guess. I hate to use them as a scapegoat, but it's the truth. Those rates are driven by them. We look around what other people are charging, and we want to try to find that, sweet spot where we're not asking for huge increases, but what makes sense. So a lot of that's driven by them. So.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for Chief Snively? No. Thank you, Chief.
And I just didn't, and to add, as you know, our equipment and the service we provide is expensive. Things haven't gotten any cheaper post-COVID, so I think that has a lot to do with it.
Especially the fire stations.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
And you heard that. Mr. Cahill, do you have anything to add to that?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Okay, well, thank you very much. And again, as there's no action on that tonight, we can continue. Mr. Conover, please.
Yeah, item 4 tonight is ordinance number O 2024-81, an ordinance establishing the pay ranges, pay policy, and benefits for various salaried and hourly classifications within the service of the city. This is a first reading.
Thank you very much. Mr. Cowhall, the staff report, please.
Well, it's that time of year, Council. On an annual basis, along with the budget process, we also, as a city, look at our pay and benefit ordinance that covers the work rules, pay, and other provisions regarding our non-union employees. Before you is just what we would say is just kind of a typical standard update. As a staff report delineates for you, there is the addition of some new job classifications that were recommended by our departments. The removal of certain legacy job titles or job positions that were a result of reorganizations or other reclassifications. You'll see an addition of some call-out pay to a couple of those new positions as well, along with allowances for those, particularly in water treatment and sewer treatment. And then probably the most substantive update would be, now that we have a little bit of specificity on a fire contract and discussions with our friends at FOP seem to be progressing, we needed to adjust the service chiefs and deputies or assistant chiefs for wage compression purposes. So you'll see them moving a few pay bands. But other than that, more than happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. As this is a first reading, there is no action on this item today. However, is there any discussion?
I have a couple things.
Mr. Lally.
The first thing I have, I'm curious on the insurance. So it's my understanding there's changes in the health insurance, but we don't have what any of those changes are. So so is that true? What changes are there in employee benefits?
As it relates to health insurance, we're expecting a 5% renewal or a 5% increase of premiums with the city picking up or asking or having our employees' premiums go up by 3.5%. The city, as the employer share, would pick up the remainder. You also probably saw in the budget proposal in the general fund, there is a line item for an HSA contribution. Right. In discussions with the healthcare committee and our insurer, broker, and everyone else to spur some migration and also maybe not reduce costs long term for our healthcare fund, but maybe cost containment. There's a proposal to provide a little bit of a employer contribution to employees that elect that healthcare coverage to make a contribution to their health savings account.
So if I'm reading that right, so those employees who elect to take that they're not going to have to pay that premium or a portion thereof. Is that what I'm hearing? Or
yeah, so a qualified health deductible plan or high deductible plan, there is a deductible level that you have to pay out of pocket that you can pay out of an HSA or just whatever account you want to, but there's tax benefits to an HSA, obviously, that it's out of pocket to you, and then once you hit that threshold, insurance covers 100% of the rest. So for this upcoming year, for single coverage, we are looking at a $3,300, I believe, annual deductible for employee spouse, employee child, or employee spouse and child full family coverage. That deductible is $6,600 for the year, and the city has budgeted to contribute half of the annual deductible to those employees' accounts.
So an employee stands to earn $1,700 on a single somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
And so how many employees does that affect?
It has the potential, all 400 plus or minus of our employees are actually actively in open enrollment right now. So that's
how many are normally in this plan?
Traditionally, we've had, I'm trying to think here, where'd Sam go? We have about 40, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of the younger crowd.
Yeah.
Higher deductible.
Yeah, I think most of our election of that has been probably fairly recent, probably in the last 3 years for that plan.
Okay. That's good. Thank you. That's what I had on that. Then I had one other question. I guess I'm not totally comfortable with the Me Too clauses being taken out for the police chief and the fire chief. I get what you're trying to do, and we discussed that, but the problem, I think, this is going to leave us back into the same problem 4 or 5 years down the road when those police and fire deputy chief salaries get close to them again. Are we just kicking the can down the road on taking the Me Too clauses out?
I'm sorry. What are you saying?
You took the Me Too clauses out for the police chief and the fire chief, correct?
No.
Some of it? Most of it?
No.
So the Me Too clauses for the police chief and the fire chief are the same? Nothing different?
I don't believe so. I mean, it looks like they're the same as this year. In this year's PBO for 24.
Okay.
The only thing that's changing is their pay band.
I thought the Me Too, there were some strikeouts on the Me Too clauses.
I'm not seeing them.
So, page 4, 1B, Wages
Oh, yeah.
for the police chief and the deputy police chief
Yeah.
shall be equal in percentage. So that's a me-too clause that's being
That is-
struck out.
Yeah, I mean, we can,
So the only thing I'm worried about is, I get if the numbers,
yeah.
are we just kicking that can down the road 2 or 3 years and
We always are.
the next council's gonna,
Yeah. I mean, we can put it back in and like pay the fire chief a little less next year.
I guess I just would like to see some numbers. If you could
Yeah.
get us some numbers, so we see, is that 2 or 3 years down the road we're going to be in that, or is it something? No, it's not really. Not having the numbers in front of me, that's the only thing that worries me about that.
Okay, yeah, we can help with that. I mean,
Okay.
for instance, just
That's all
as-
I'm asking
so
is,
you're-
can we
as
see
you're
numbers?
as you're digesting this, just as a first reading stage, for instance, leaving that Me Too clause we would actually probably lose ground because the fire contract was 10.77. This would afford both the assistant chief and the fire chief. They'd get the 5% COLA plus another 4.7, so that's 9.7% growth next year versus it would just be a flat 7. They wouldn't be eligible for the COLA, it'd just be 7.
Okay, I'd like to see those
Yeah.
numbers.
Okay. Yeah, we can work on that. That's easy.
Thank you. That was a similar-ish question that I had, not exactly, but it was just looking at the PBO itself and just wondering how sustainable this was, moving 1 to 5 years out down the road, just looking at that. Do you have any words to that right now, or do you want to wait for the next meeting?
You know, we examine this constantly on a year-by-year basis, you know. We look at where our expenses and revenues are and the general direction we're going. So, you know, I think we're in a manageable spot at the moment. You know, that's always subject to change, but, you know.
All right, thank you. Are
I
there,
do want to say thank you to the PBO committee. I know that's a tough committee to be on. It's probably one of the tougher committees to be on. And so thank you to those staff who worked very hard on that. I know it's challenging because they got 400 employees coming at them. I want this, I want this, I want that. So thank you to your staff, Nathan.
Yes.
all right. Any other questions or comments at this point?
I have a question.
It's Mrs. Carter.
Help desk administrator.
Yes, ma'am.
What is that?
That is one of our positions in IT. That is the position that does most of your one-on-one troubleshooting. So if one of our employees say, hey, my email's not working, or the printer driver's telling me it needs to reload, or they're the ones that do a lot of the help ticket troubleshooting. They're maybe not as involved in the network administration or the back-end security patches on the server. They're doing more of the, what I'd say is, you know, your computer, you know, what's that SNL thing? Nick Burns, the company's computer guy, but they're the folks that's the position that's helping people one-on-one usually.
Okay, also, I'm looking at the Public Works, and we have a leader, a superintendent, and a utilities director.
That's correct.
That's a lot of positions that seems like they're repeating themselves to me.
Yes. So on the hierarchy of things, so that director position, that's actually Mr. Tadish, our Public Works Director, Public Works and Utilities. We will have a superintendent that oversees one of our various divisions in Public Works, whether that be sewer maintenance, water, storm, or the garage or whatnot. And then those crew leaders are what you would see, probably the equivalent of, like, let's take public safety, it'd be equivalent of a police sergeant or a fire lieutenant. They're there managing and supervising the individual crews out in the field.
Some of those, Nathan, are paid out of the enterprise fund, not necessarily
Yeah, almost all of them are, yeah.
they're not paid out of the general.
Yeah, they're all, I can't think of one that's paid.
Okay, so the
Other
leader
general.
is like a crew leader.
That is correct, yeah.
Okay, and then the community security officer. Is that a police officer or a security officer?
That is security. I'm trying to go off memory here.
Page 2.
Is that one of the? Yes. Oh, yeah. That's actually the name for our jailers. I was having a senior moment there, so that's one of our jail staff.
Is community security officer
Yeah, it's our correctional
jail?
officers. Yes, ma'am.
a correctional officer?
What they've been called forever. in the PBO.
Yeah.
Whatever.
We probably should change it to corrections
Yeah.
officer. It's what we call them, in-house.
I think you should.
Okay.
Because a security officer they're not even trained as much as a police officer. They don't have the same training. Community security officer. And he's a correctional officer in the city jail.
Any further discussion or questions at this point? Okay, hearing none, we will go ahead and move on to the next item. Mr. Conover, please.
Yep, item 5 tonight is ordinance number O 2024-82, an ordinance establishing pay ranges and certain benefits for employee classifications in the Middletown Department of Health and Environment. This is also a first reading.
Thank you very much. Mr. Cahall, the staff report, please.
So as we do for our, I would say, general city employees, we also adopt a PBO on behalf of the health department. And really, it's for the most part, it just adds an Exhibit A for a job classification table showing exempt, supervisory, and classified and unclassified positions in the health department, which needed some updates.
All right, thank you. As this is a first reading, there is no action on this item today, but is there any discussion? And I see our health commissioner here this evening. Did you have anything that you wanted to add? All right, we are good to go. If there's no further discussion, we will continue. Mr. Conover, please.
Next is resolution number R 2024-29, a resolution to make appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Middletown, counties of Butler and Warren, State of Ohio for the period ending December 31, 2025. This is the annual budget for 2025, and it is a first reading.
Thank you, Mr. Conover. Mr. Cahall, the staff report, please.
Yes, members of council. Like we've said, creating a budget and adopting one's an iterative process, and staff is very appreciative of council's input and direction and thoughts on things over the last month and a half now. What is before you is what I think, if we were good scribes and taking good notes and taking your guidance and feedback into account, what we think represents what has been, at least to date, aired as it seems like at least the direction of council on the budget. So you have in front of you the all funds budget. So it starts out with the general fund and we proceed then to the special revenue funds in this packet. This is just how the ordinance is set up and the like. Since last we met on the budget per your direction, and then in getting feedback further after the meeting, we have adjusted things to go to 88 sworn officers in the Division of Police. I think the original was to go to 84 or 85, so we've got that up to 88. We examined a few other things. We're going to punt and defer on the deputy clerk position, and a reduction of the initially proposed new public works positions for park maintenance from 3 down to 1. I'm trying to think if I missed anything. No, that is what has changed since last you saw the budget, and more than happy to answer any more questions or further refine things per your direction.
Again, as this is a first reading, there's no action on this item today. However, is there any discussion at this point?
I have just maybe two quick questions. I can't remember what you told us. First of all, let me say thank you to you and finance. I know you guys did a lot of hard work on putting a budget together, so thank you.
Well, thank you.
We're in special revenue funds, the law enforcement trust fund. We're spending down 800 and some thousand. What were we spending that on? So
for this year's budget, for the 2024 budget, this is the fund. You probably definitely recall, Paul. We were expecting a very large federal seizure award.
Okay.
That still has not come. What we were going to do is that we had this exorbitantly large expected balance in Fund 242. We were going to dip into it to preserve general fund, and this, you can only use it for these types of purposes, we were going to fund a portion of police operations costs, so about $400,000 worth of salary and benefits was what was planned. We have still not received money that we thought we should have gotten in October of 23. Still working on that. So what occurs then also is that, and you'll see this in the cleanup ordinance for next month for the budget cleanup. Between that and a little bit of an overtime issue in another division, we had to kind of move around mid-year about $800,000 into the mix to cover these expenses. So that's why you see such a large discrepancy.
I couldn't remember
Yeah.
what that was. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions at this time from anyone else?
No, just want to thank you guys, especially you, Sam. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I did have a question for you, Mr. Cahall. Just looking at this, again, as far as sustainability goes, given our budget this year, how is that going to look, again, with some of the wages coming in for next year, going forward in 26, 27? Is this sustainable for us?
Yeah, I think we're in a manageable position. I think sustainability, I think it depends on how you want to define it. I think where we're at in comparison maybe to the last 2 or so fiscal cycles is I think we're going to migrate more into the zone of normality for a municipal corporation like us, in that this council, previous councils for the last couple of years, have had the good fortune and circumstance that we had money in reserve to make take opportunities on. Some of the discretionary spending, when I say discretionary, things that maybe just aren't, the general day-to-day governance and programming, that amount of freeboard, in the pool will be reduced. It just won't be where it's at. But in terms of sustaining the level of expenditure that is reflected in this budget, and noting that we just may not be able to do as much of certain things on the fly, we may have to plan and save for it. We're still in a manageable position. It's just there's not going to be as much fiscal freedom probably, maybe not next year, but by the 27 budget, it's going to be more of a status quo.
Okay, so what I heard is that we had an unusual last couple of years, especially because of
Undoubtedly.
Things like that.
Undoubtedly. I mean, previous council, just for instance, was always wanting to have a balanced budget proposed, but also had the freedom, I believe it was in either 23, it was in 23, also then approved supplemental appropriations of close to about $9 million throughout the year for various opportunities or challenges that we encounter. We're just going to have to, I think, be a little more, we won't have the flexibility as much.
Okay, so it's kind of like this is a normal time. So we'll have a budget. We will have to decide what we're going to spend the money on.
And I don't want to be alarmist. We're on firm financial ground for the foreseeable future, unless some black swan event occurs. But to the extent that you as appropriators and policymakers may have enjoyed, especially as we were using ARPA funds and some other unexpected revenues, I think we're going to get into more of a status quo type of arrangement.
And with the budget that we're presenting now, we had talked about our general reserve, our fund, or balance, not the balance, but the fund. How will that put us? What percentage are we looking at now after this budget?
Just around 40%, just north of 40 right now. With then how we're massaging things is the idea is the plane is coming in for, not crashing, but the plane's going down. We're going to level off in 2 fiscal chunks, so that by the end of the 26th fiscal year, the goal, unless council changes its desires and guidance, is that we can get to that 35% mark. It's more of trust but verify philosophy on this, is just to leave a little bit back above that 35%, just to make sure that we're good on expected expenditures and our revenues are solid.
Okay, so after this, we will be around 40%.
Yeah.
I thought you had said around 35 last time we had talked.
Yeah, I got my math wrong.
Okay, all right.
I apologize.
Thank you. All right, any other questions or comments?
Yes, I want to know about the Renaissance South, about the Renaissance. Where are we with that?
So our contractor for Renaissance Point they're making good headway on the public improvement installation. In talking to Woodard Development, staff expects the first 2 or 3 end users to be submitting plans to our Planning Commission. It's looking like it's going to be early next year to get their approvals and allow them to get under construction. Late spring, early summer of next year is the plan. We are still working closely with Warren County Port Authority on their part of the project. Actually just had a call with them today, and they're proceeding, they think, on a path to closing on their bond issuance after the first of the year.
Okay. Also, one of the things that I wanted to know, I wanted a copy of the park plans. The master plan. I haven't received that yet.
I apologize. We will take care of that.
Okay. Because
in the morning.
I was wondering about. They were talking about cameras being in the parks. So do we have a list of the parks that the cameras will be in?
We can get you that information.
Okay.
We're for some security purposes. Yeah, we've decided to install some camera systems. But yeah, we can get you that.
Okay.
All right, any other questions or comments at this point? I did have one. You had alluded before to the about 800,000 we're looking for since October of 23, October of last year. So it's been over a year for the police department.
Like 600, yeah.
About 600. Yeah. Forgive me. So it's a lot. What's the holdup there? Is there anything that we can do to speed things along?
We don't know. Honestly, we believe that there was a distribution, a proposed distribution of those assets. They've been, as I understand it, they have been liquidated in terms of, all the property has been, sold. And I think there's just now maybe some disagreement on the distribution of funding between the entities that were part of that case and that task force.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, thank you. We will continue. Mr. Conover, item number 7, please.
Yep. Next is ordinance number O-2024-83, an ordinance establishing a procedure for and authorizing a 1-year extension of a lease of certain real property to Mark Kakaris, doing business as Mark's Towing. This is a first reading.
Thank you very much. Mr. Cahill, the staff report, please.
Yes. In front of you is a request to extend the towing and impound lot services contract with Mark's Towing. They have been a very good vendor of ours. They provide really good service. To the extent that an impound lot can be turnkey, they do provide that service. And as you can see in the staff report, they're sticking by their $100 a tow pricing, and more than happy to answer any questions. But this is a fairly kind of straightforward agreement.
Yes, again, as this is a first reading, there is no action on this item today. However, is there any discussion? Mr. Horn?
So again, how long have we been working with this company?
We originally took bids in 2020. I believe they started in 21, if I'm reading things correctly. There was 2 1-year extensions for 23 and 24. Police department, the police division is asking for another extension of the contract.
Right. The only reason I say it is when we have a good working relationship, and it's not I understand government and the bidding process, and you have to bid first and second, you have to do that. But if you're allowed to extend someone for even 2 years, and as long as they're okay with it, keeping their rates that way, instead of doing an annual, sometimes an annual is as long as we like you. And then, just like in sports, a 1-year contract to any manager means as long as you win the Super Bowl, the World Series, Stanley Cup, you have a job next year. So if we have a good working relationship with anyone, and this, I know it's first reading, just the thought process of if as long as they're okay with, sometimes when you say you have a 2-year lease, that means, or to your agreement, that means also your rates don't go up, and gas and everything can change. relatively quickly. So that's just my thought. When we have a good working relationship with companies, that we need to reward them instead of just saying, okay, see you next year.
Yeah, no, I mean, they're, as I understand it in our feedback from our police division, that they're an outstanding service provider.
Okay.
All right, any other questions or comments?
What were the rates a couple years ago? $100 seems, I wish I could get a $100 tow.
I don't know, is Chief still here? There he is, yeah. I don't know if you remember off of memory or not. I couldn't tell you.
Thank you, Chief Nelson.
Thank you. I think the rates were 2020 around about $75 a tow. So he's only increased by $25 a tow. So the total bill for a tow is $220. So we get the excess amount. We budgeted for Marks at $100 a tow. Like I said, he has been a good partner for the police department. He is a family-owned business. He comes out all hours of the night whenever we call, and I can't say enough about the service he provides to the police department. So there's no complaints there. He's just been really good to us, and that's why it was easy for us to extend it for this year.
Yeah, thank you, Chief.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments at this time? All right, hearing none, we will continue. Mr. Conover, please.
Last item tonight is ordinance number O-2024-85, an ordinance establishing a procedure for and authorizing an extension of a contract with Chimera Water Solutions Incorporated for the purchase of a ferric sulfate for use at the water reclamation facility. This is a first reading.
Thank you very much. Mr. Cahal, the staff report, please.
Now that we're done buying Polydyne, now we bring you ferric acid. This is another chemical for our sewer treatment process. This is a standard item that we buy annually or whenever we need it. As the staff report, our sewer treatment plant managers recommended approval for the purchase, and more than happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Again, as this is a first reading, there is no action on this item today. However, is there any discussion? Hearing none, then that ends the legislation for the evening. We'll move on to unfinished business. Do any council members have anything they would like to bring up under unfinished business? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next item. I'm
sorry.
Oh, Mr. Lally.
It's just one thing I would like to do, not this council meeting, but the next council meeting, is come prepared to speak about moving forward with our city permanent selection process for our city manager's position. I think we've gone long enough. I've had countless numbers of citizens ask me, what are we doing? So I'd like to say that let's come prepared to the November 19th meeting and be prepared to discuss what we want to do.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Everybody agree? Okay. So that'll be something that we can speak about in unfinished business at that time. Anything else for unfinished business? Okay, we'll move on to new business. Do any council members have any new business this evening? Mr. Horn?
Mr. Cahill, I'd like to request, and we can do this at maybe the last meeting in December, but we've had a lot of conversation about Public Works, and we asked yes for 3 and we got 1. Is there a PowerPoint presentation that just gives us what our Public Works does? Everything. What they do, being wrenching on vehicles, watering plants, working on our roads, working on our sewers. I think we need an education like we've had with other departments, and just tell us. And like I said, it can be toward the last meeting in December, if we don't have anything else to wrap before the holidays, just to have it on the old YouTubes, and so everyone understands what they do and the manpower that they are doing it with. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No.
So we have and we can have the director of the Public Works, but I think we need to understand what they do, because we've also taken some jobs or assignments away from them, being that the buses now are with Butler County, so now they're not doing that. So what are they doing here? So, and then we have the EVs coming up, which we don't know if they're going to have to wrench on those. So if we can just have the last meeting in December, just a nice PowerPoint presentation explaining Middletown Public Works and everything that is done, that might help everyone understand. So when we're doing budgetary work next year, it's like, okay, you need more, or you're okay. So that's just my new business.
Can we do that for under maybe city manager's reports?
Yeah, we can do that. That's easy.
That works?
Yep.
Anything else that anyone would like to bring up under new business?
I did have one additional thing. So I've had a couple residents reach out about the new EV, kind of joggle my brain. But for the new charging stations, there's some folks questioning the grant amount versus how many potential charge stations they're going to be around the city, blah, blah, blah. When will we know the extent of that project, cost for install, things like that?
I think we're waiting on, and I don't know if Scott's here. No, I think he had an obligation tonight. My understanding is we're just waiting on the final grant agreement paperwork and the specifics of that from OKI.
Okay.
Is the MPO that is facilitating these federal dollars. So in that agreement, as I understand it, once it's disseminated from OKI, it'll clearly establish what we're putting where and how much.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, OKI does have, we have a list of where they're going to be put and kind of like a rough idea of how much money for each one. But I guess finalizing it might be something we're still.
Yeah, and obviously there's a grant award with an estimated cost.
Yeah.
We still have to bid out the work. So
Correct.
I mean,
Yeah.
we'll know specifically. If our estimate's really good, then we'll go according to what was proposed. If not, we may have to call an audible.
Perfect. Thank you.
So will that require someone to work? So if you have those, what do you call them? Those,
EV stations?
right. So will you ride around to maintain them? You know, keep them clean and all of that? Is that a job for someone?
They do require maintenance.
Yeah, so as part of the installation cost, we can also, as I understand it, we can also buy from that installer, that vendor, I'll call it a maintenance agreement, to where they will periodically go out. They'll fix the chargers if there's ever a malfunction or an issue there, and they'll be on there for preventative maintenance and the like throughout the useful lifespan of that charger.
So the person that install it will maintain it?
Yeah, or another designated third party that's charged with that, yes. That's my understanding, at least.
Kind of like a pool boy for the EV station.
All right.
Right.
Anything else under new business this evening? Okay. Hearing none, we will move on. And that takes us to our executive session. Do I hear a motion to move to executive session under the authority of ORC 121.22G2 to consider the purchase of property for public purposes or for the sale of property at competitive bidding if premature disclosure of information would give an unfair competitive or bargaining advantage?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded to move to executive session. We will proceed to vote. Mrs. Skank, please call the roll.
Yes.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Horn?
Yes.
Mayor Slamka?
Yes.
Mr. Lawley?
Yes.
All right, the yeses have it. We will be moving to executive session and will return to open session to adjourn.